Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Everyday Excellence. I'm your host, Todd Baldwin, and today we have Brandon Workman, owner of United Floor Coatings. Brandon, how are you doing today?
Great. Hope you are.
I am. I'm doing good. Brandon and I are coming off the back end of the Arctic blast that I think hit about half of the country. So we were just talking before we got on. We are glad it's in the rearview mirror. So, Brandon, tell me a little bit about United Floor Coatings. I'm sure you could do a much better job introducing your company than I ever could.
Sure. So we're fast approaching 10 years in business. It's as that's of actual operations. We started our first job on May 3rd, I believe, 2016. And that was really just doing stuff on the residential front, basic epoxy systems, more or less in, at the time, almost exclusively residential settings. Just kind of had to figure it out on our own, small team stuff, with time. And we kind of grew more in the commercial space, still very active in residential. But we do a range of coatings now, I would say, and then concrete polishing in addition.
So do you do more residential or more commercial, or is it
By
50/50?
by project count, it's more residential, but by revenue, it's more commercial.
Residential primarily garages?
Correct. Yeah, basements. There's occasional one-off stuff too, playrooms or something like that. But for all intents and purposes, it's garages and some basements.
Okay. And so tell our listeners, where are you guys located and what areas do you serve?
Yep. So we're located just south of Uptown Charlotte. So out of this office, we kind of typically service call it a 35-mile radius. We have another office in the Raleigh area. So between the two can cover the state. Obviously, not driving to the mountains for something small, but there's a range of sizes that are out there, and we can kind of travel if it makes economic sense. But day to day, we're generally within the Charlotte area out
Okay.
of this office.
Okay. And that's where you're located now. Okay. Got it.
Correct. Correct.
Got it. Well, let's rewind a little bit. Like I told you earlier, I love talking to entrepreneurs. I love hearing an entrepreneur's story of how they got started. So tell us, how did United Floor Coatings actually get started?
Yeah. So I think I just always had the itch, obviously, to do kind of something on my own. I think my brother did as well, and he was working at an agency, digital marketing agency that is, and had some clients in this space. And, one kind of saw firsthand how their business really took off once they really threw a better digital strategy at the business. That also kind of learned more about the business with time, and it was relatively fragmented industry. Um, there's not really licensing requirements to get involved, so I just thought it was an attractive thing to try to figure out. So basically, build a website and start putting out feelers, and one day the phone started ringing.
It's time to go do a job, right?
Yeah,
Book a
that's right.
job.
Yeah.
When did you guys realize that, hey, this is legit, this is a real business?
Yeah. So I think the balance of that year, again, started in May. The balance of that year was probably better than we would have expected, but not knocking the ball out of the park. My brother was still at his digital agency, and then that following January, we won a pretty sizable, maybe even February, somewhere in there, though, won a very sizable project, and that's when he left, and that's when you're like, all right, these are, we're not in the big time yet, but this is sustainable.
Gotcha. And if you look back to that year one, what did it look like compared to?
Year one, or that partial year one was um, one, a lot of figuring it out, excuse me, which unfortunately comes in the form of messing things up sometimes. But you learn the hard way. And we were working with just kind of a mixed bag of people helping us at the time. Some folks who had experience, some, who didn't, but we weren't at the point where we had, proper payroll. So it was just trying to get out in front of things, and making sure we're on top of ordering and things like that. But again, I think we all just kind of figured it out together. And then that second year is when things really more like stabilized, hired full-time employees. I was in our Raleigh office at the time, but didn't have like a proper brick and mortar. Sometime in like late 2017, opened an actual office there. Before, again, we were just driving around to address whatever projects may come in, right? I'd say really going into 2018 is when things really, okay, we're, here to stay.
Yeah, yeah. So that's May of 16, so about a year and a half. Yeah. So
Yeah.
you just
Yeah.
wearing all kinds of hats in the early days, flying by the seat of your pants, I had to guess, right?
Yeah. Going out to sales visits in dirty clothes and stuff like that. So
I
we
got you.
were, lots of hats for sure.
You mentioned that first big client that kind of got you guys to the other side, or like, hey, this is legit. Tell me a little bit about that first big client.
Yeah. So it was actually, it was down on the North Carolina coast, and it was a hotel that was needed like it's actually kind of funny because it's not really core to our business. It's stuff that, we had the equipment for, it took some training for, but it was like exterior walkways, but it was I think it was three high rises or close, high rise might be a little generous, but it was significant space. And I'd gone down, it was sometime in early January when the first call came in. And, I was there like the next day and it was really good, kind of on site rapport and felt pretty positive about it. Felt pretty good about our pricing. And then, I thought it was going to move forward, and then they kind of went silent. They hired like the local cheap guy, and they got in and they realized they were over their head. So it was probably closer to February when they called back and like, if you can do it and move on this quickly, it's yours. So it was, sometimes deals die, right? And they come back to life. And that was kind of the situation here.
Well, yeah, when we were talking earlier, we have a digital agency, so I think our one of our biggest accounts, um, we presented 3 different times over about 3 years to them before we
Sure.
actually got the business. So,
Yeah.
but no, I know exactly what you're talking about. Sometimes the best deals, they just take a little time to marinate.
Right.
So, I'm kinda curious, on the commercial side, you think about industrial floors, right? For someone that doesn't know anything about industrial floors, what problem do you guys solve?
It's really twofold. I mean, it's in the name in some respect, or a slogan anyway. Like we really are, making places look better, but also offering protection. And that protection side can get it can be as simple as just protecting the concrete beneath, but it can also be a little more specialized. Like there's um, basically electrostatic dissipative floors and stuff like that would protect sensitive electronics, machinery, etc. Um, there's also situations where there's been a slip and a fall, and then some of our systems are offer more traction. So, like, say, there's a workers' comp claim or something, and they're like, "Hey, we got to come do something about this floor." We can go in and deliver solutions for that. So, again, the simplest way to think about it is we're making concrete look better, um, and protecting the concrete beneath it, and it could obviously get much more nuanced from there.
Sure, sure. I mean, it obviously they look great, but there is a protection side to it as well, right?
Yeah,
Um,
chemicals and the like. Yes, exactly.
sure. Is there a certain thing that you guys look for or preach, or I should say preach, maybe educate about things that can happen to floors if they're ignored too long?
Yeah, yes, and also as it relates to our systems too, just kind of level setting expectations. This is how to take care of the floor. These are the things not to do. This is how to move pallets around and things like that. But also back to your original question, yeah, I mean, if you've got and we've seen a lot of grimy floors over the years, but if you've got a machine that's just dumping hydraulic oil and stuff into the slab, I mean, it's just, it's, things are going to break down over time.
Sure. Yeah, it makes sense. You gotta have some protection. I could probably use my own garage floor needs. Could
Yeah.
definitely use
We travel.
a little love. Yeah. Well, we've been in that house 20 years, and I look at it. I'm like, I mean, it's slab, everything's fine, but it could definitely add a nice touch to the overall just look of the garage, right? And I know it added a layer of protection because when you have those cars sitting there, 2 cars all that time, you do lose. I mean, there's some chemicals or oil or whatnot that I know hits that floor. I'm curious just to kind of touch back on those early years. What's a hard lesson in business that you learned early on?
Yeah. Don't get in over your head. Hire
Yeah,
the right people and try to, get out in front of systems. I mean, it was not, I was using spreadsheets and hiring people off of Craigslist and things like that. You got to do what you got to do, right? But I mean, looking back, I think those are the real three things, um, to try to get out in front of.
people are so important, right, as a business
Yeah,
owner.
for
And
sure.
so, tell us a little bit about your culture and your team.
Yeah, so we're a small team here internally. It's obviously capable of doing pretty sizable projects, so we've kind of run a balance of trusted subcontractors that we really think of more as partners. And we've hiring is always tough, as you know, but we've got a group of guys who've been around the block. I think we try to strike a balance of trusting people to do their jobs, but also make sure that we're all on the same, on the same page as well.
Sure. Yeah, I've learned over the years, 20 plus years, right, owning a business. Um, Hire slowly, fire quickly, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so,
yeah. Well, my best friend said that line many times.
yeah, and the thing is, we typically are so bad as entrepreneurs or operators. We do the opposite. We hire quickly and we fire slowly when we know fire is such a strong word too, but we just know, hey, they're not the right person, right? They're not the right fit. They're not the right person for the
Sure.
job. But I think we all have bleeding hearts, and it's hard to let
Yeah,
someone go.
yeah,
Uh,
for sure.
so your brother Ryan is your partner, and you guys are co-owners. He was going to be on the podcast as well. Had something come up last minute, but I'm just curious, as brothers and partners, what's the key to running a business together without killing each other?
Yeah, right. There's probably been a couple of times we were close, but I think, there's obviously a high level built-in trust there. And, you gotta let everyone do, and I guess it's for everyone, but, you gotta let them do what they're good at and focus on what you're good at.
Yeah, I tell my team all the time, I stay out of their lane. And my joke to our clients is, you don't want me running your campaign, right? I'm
Right.
not. That's not me. I'm not wired that way. I can't stand to log into Google Search Console or Google
Right.
Ads or any of that jazz. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
here I
that's 2
am,
of
a
us.
founder and owner of an agency. But
Right.
I always say I got to have a lot smarter people than me to run those campaigns and have success. So I'm curious to talk. Love to talk a little bit just about the growth of your business, right? What are you guys doing right now to grow the business?
So trying to stay sharp on, obviously, digital presence, um, over time too, just we've gotten in more with, um, kinda like regional contractors. So guys that are feeding us work, try to work on those relationships, make sure that we're delivering, excellence when those come around. And try to, work on actual, like, upstream bid work a little bit more now, and then versus the early days, it was 100% passive. So I think it's really nurturing relationships. Like I said, we kinda think of our subcontractors as partners. I think it really that's what I think strive for our GCs to look at us as well.
Sure. Well, referral business is obviously great. And it sounds like you're trying to set up those relationships to get those coming in on a regular basis. I'm curious on the because you mentioned marketing and you said your brother used to work for an agency. What's been working marketing wise really well for you guys lately?
I mean, really, a lot of it just owes to our early focus on SEO, and like our organic positioning was really strong out of the gate. Obviously, the market, any attractive market, you're going to have new entrants, right? So definitely see more competition there now. But I think a lot of it just owes to that early, like, and bedrock, I guess, is really what it is. We've experimented with a number of either self-managed campaigns over the years, hired a few third parties, but I think a lot of it's just is increasingly word of mouth. If having done thousands of projects now, still a strong like digital presence, and then just again having I think there's key partners in place that are going to keep your pipeline full.
But yeah, 100%, man. We're such strong believers in. You mentioned SEO, right? Search engine optimization. We're big believers because our clients tell us that's the best lead that they typically get off of Google. Paid ads being the second, but
Right. Agree.
um, it's like music to my ears. Obviously, being a digital agency owner, to hear someone say how SEO it actually works. It's your foundation, right? It's your digital
Right.
foundation
Yeah.
of showing up and people are actually looking for you, or they like I always say, people go to Google, they've got a problem, they're looking for a solution. So I'm glad to hear, awesome to hear that that guy's working for you, and you guys got a strong foundation out of the gate 10 years ago. I always tell people, time's your ally on Google, right? So definitely
Right.
sounds like that is a strong part of y'all's marketing mix. What's not been working, or what have you tried that say, hey, that doesn't work, or pain points maybe?
Specifically on the marketing front, or
Yeah,
just in
just yeah,
general?
just
On
curious
the
on the marketing,
marketing
like
front,
what?
I mean, we've tried a number of, I'm not saying that they're all bad, but we have tried a number of just kind of traditional media channels, magazines and the like, and, you hear the right thing and just haven't seen it. They've not all fallen flat, but probably not the ROI that you're looking for. So, those have probably been the ones that have been seemed great at first, or that either tapered off or just never quite like took root. So really that. We've mixed other things into like neighborhood shows, conventions, and the like. Again, I think those are just the ones you got to stay. You got to be programmatic about those. Just hit them. Understand that some aren't going to knock it out of the park, but you do enough of them, and the business follows. And it's just limited bandwidth sort of thing. So we don't have a dedicated team going around to shows and stuff like that. So that's again why I'm not saying that none of that works. It's just that we've seen, far and away more success on the digital front.
Sure. Do you guys have a 2026 AI strategy for ChatGPT? Let's say to
I
show
would
up
say,
digitally.
I would say Ryan's a power user. So that's part of the strategy, I guess. We've experimented with a few AI tools, whether it's as simple as, basically receptionist. I haven't found like a game changer yet, but I mean, obviously something I try to keep, my eyes on.
Is that Ryan's primary role? Is he the marketing guy, the marketing arm up, since
And
that's his
sales.
background
And sales both, yes.
in sales? Okay.
Yeah.
So is you guys handle that all in house as
And
far as
we have a couple of guys that'll sell for us as well.
okay, nice, nice. So I'm just curious here in the lost my train of thought there. So where do you think, or where would you guys like to see United Floor Coatings be in the next few years?
I mean, I think anytime, you're talking expansion, like geographic expansion is one of the first thing that comes to mind. I think, I think probably, I think just really keying in on a few core systems, would be pretty important, and really carve out a name for yourself in that, in whatever those 3 to 5 are. And then obviously continue to grow like the, partnership contractor network. I think that's what really propels you from, phase one's figuring out, phase two stability, and phase three's growth. Like, phase four is, a mature company. I think that's what it would take to get to that point. Something that's going to stick around another decade plus.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You brought the contractor partnership many times. We have several people that we work with on a referral basis, and they'll send us leads for things they don't handle, and
Sure.
I'll do the same for them. And those leads to be really powerful because you're getting an introduction. More than likely, you're going to have
Right.
a
Right.
really good meeting with them, and a high probability to close them. Same with referrals too. Referrals are golden. I'm curious. So, what's changing in the industry right now in 2026?
Um, I would say, really it's, I mentioned it earlier, but there are more people in this space, specifically on the residential front. There's been like product innovation over the years. Some of the stuff's easier to work with. I think, like concrete polishing too is really the reason we've focused on it more as well. Is it's just something that's increasingly visible, and so I think those have been like the big changes. I'm not aware of anything else like coming down the pike like immediately, but those are still three pretty big changes with time.
As in the last 10 years, has there been giant changes, or has it just been kind of slow incremental changes over time as
Yeah, it's more
product
like
or better?
it's more stepwise, I would say,
Yeah.
and part of that too is like some of the things that we discover over time may have been out there, but it took us time to uncover them. But some of the materials, can be hard to work with, and through iteration, and I think through innovation on the manufacturer front, a lot of those have gotten easier to work with. But yeah, there's not been like a profound kind of aha, this is a game changer moment in the industry.
That's good. I mean, I say good in a way because you're not constantly having to reinvent the wheel, or in the digital world, it seems like things change every day.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's
Right.
always all this ChatGPT and AI reminds me of the SEO world 15 years ago, right? Now people are
Sure.
trying to figure out, how do I show up in ChatGPT searches, right? And so it's cool. Our clients have been getting leads from ChatGPT. We get leads. We have two different brands. We get leads from ChatGPT. I think a lot of that's just putting premium on content over all these years, has really helped out. My assumption is you guys, if you have a strong organic presence, because they're scraping, these AIs are scraping from Google and Bing
Yeah.
and these directories. You guys getting leads off ChatGPT?
Oh, well, we've gotten like, the AI appear, the AI results that appear at the top of Google. Like I know we've done a bit of testing and seen us pop up there.
See
That's
it pop
probably
up.
the main one. Obviously if you're looking for local, it's probably it's not a nationwide name at this point, but that's where we have seen
Yeah, yeah.
some pickup.
And people are they're going on and typing in these long-winded questions, right? And for you to
Yeah.
pop up, that's awesome. Um, all right, let's kind of couple of last questions here for you, and we'll wrap up. But I'm just curious, what advice would you give someone starting a trade or service business today?
Yeah. I mean, some of what we touched on. I mean, one, know what you're doing. You got to learn it yourself. I think even if you intend to, move to the desk, or, focus on sales, like you still need to know what you're selling. So there's that piece. I think it's don't get in over your head, as I said earlier too. And then it's also have the right person. And also along having the right people, I think kind of identifying someone who functions as maybe something of a mentoring role is also really helpful. One of the early big projects we did, we weren't set up yet to do something that size, but just totally coincidentally, a family friend was in this space, so we're able to work with like alongside him. So it kind of helped on two fronts. I mean, it put money in the bank, but also it was a good way to learn under someone who had done this longer than we had.
So
So I
you
think
had
just
that early
searching,
mentor.
yeah, exactly, searching your network for who. But even if you don't know the exact right person, still starting those conversations usually points you to the right person eventually.
Yeah, I think mentors are invaluable, man. They're so to be able to talk to somebody, right? Or even finding some other entrepreneurs. Or I was in an organization called EO for years, entrepreneurial organization, and within that I was in a forum, but that was my lifeline. 7, 8,
Sure.
sometimes 9 other entrepreneurs in that forum were 100% confidentiality, and um, you could just talk about your business, right? And people understood what the heck you were talking about and going through, even though two separate businesses, right? But we all go through the same issues, right? It's
Yeah, I mean, there's
so
a
similar.
guy that I used to be pretty good friends with in Raleigh. Smart dude, Harvard guy, ran a pest control business.
Yeah.
Him and I would get together and do exactly that. Clearly not related businesses, but there were a lot of pain points and also positives to share, and that's always helpful.
Yeah, you always my experience always felt better after those conversations or meetings too,
Right, right.
right? And I always felt like because I'd be like, so my forum we'd meet once a month, and it was like a 4-hour meeting. It was the whole process of how you had these meetings. But I remember many times I'd be like, I'm busy, I don't really have time, got to go to forum. But every time I left, I felt
Right.
re-energized, right? Because I'm like, I'm not
Sometimes it's
crazy,
just
man.
sometimes exactly, right? And sometimes you're like, maybe I can pat myself on the back. Just
Exactly.
allow it this one
Or
time.
be like, man, I thought I was having some bad issues, man.
Right,
My
right.
buddy over here, he's really going through it,
Yeah.
So well, Brandon, man, it has been great to talk to you. I appreciate you coming on. If someone manages a warehouse, has a garage, industrial space, and wants their floors done right, where can they find you guys?
It's at unitedfloorcoatings.com.
UnitedFloorCoatings.com or ChatGPT. Good
That's
guess if
right.
you're in their area, they will show up toward the top of that list. Brandon, thanks again for hopping on. Sorry we missed your brother Ryan. Hopefully we can reconnect down the road. I'd love to meet him as well.
Very good. Thanks, Todd.
Thank you.